From Workhouse Connect and AJ Benza. Fame.
He liked to be walked on a leash and play really dirty, kinky sex games.
Isa.
The guy put the cock in the Peacock Network, okay?
Bitch.
Hey, everybody. AJ Benza here with Fame is a Bitch. This is the free show, the dial-back show, the way-back show, the retro show, the show where you don't have to pony up $5, but I see some of you coming over. I'm watching. I'm very impressed and very happy about that. Very grateful that some of you are making the move and deciding, let me give this guy a shot for $5. What do I got to lose? $5 isn't even worth a gallon of gas anymore if you live out where I live. So for fuck's sake, pony it up. Drive a bicycle for a month while you listen to the show. It's great. You'll have a better month. Okay. Oh, by the way, what I want to do today is I wanted to, by the way, if you like today's show, I submit, you go to Patreon. Stop pushing the Patreon, bro. All right, let's settle fucking down. There's some good stuff on Patreon, an exclusive or two about Shanna Moakler and Travis Barker. I made a move on Shanna 20 years ago. I got some fun stuff to tell you about that. That's on the Patreon, as is some other stuff you'll enjoy. Patreon going everywhere from aliens to cancel culture to working in a day camp to Shanna Moakler, Travis Barker to Henry Cavill. I mean, it goes. My daughters play everywhere. Check it out. So today I wanted to read this article that I saw today in the New York Post because I wanted to show you how bad journalism can be today. And if you haven't noticed it, let me open your eyes a little bit. This, of course, is on the heels of Page Six getting the name of my podcast wrong the other day. I'm still grateful for the mention because they went with my exclusive about the John Mulaney, Anne-Marie Tendler situation. Remember I told you Anne-Marie Tendler was also in rehab when Mulaney was, and when I told you she didn't like the marriage, she wanted out. They didn't include that tidbit in the story, but they did use the name of the podcast, although they got it wrong. They called it Fame Ain't It a Bitch, and they used my name. At least the link still took you to the real podcast, so that's good news. Some of you wrote me that you were happy that I was mentioned, but some of you were pissed off that, hey, it would have taken them 1 minute to check for the correct name of your show. Maybe they saw the name of my book and assumed it's the same as my podcast. I don't know. I'm not sore about it. It's okay. It's no big deal because for whatever reason, the link to the show still worked. Go figure. So yesterday, there's an article about supermodel Naomi Campbell now being a mom at 50 years old. She looks fucking great. Black don't crack for real. But nowhere in the piece do they say how she became a mother. I know she didn't carry a baby to term. We would have seen pictures. I've seen her on her podcast. She wasn't pregnant. But they need to tell us how she got the kid. Was it IVF? Was it surrogate? Adoption? Or like Madonna and Angie Jolie? Did she go to Africa and just fucking take one? So the article goes, Naomi Campbell is a mom. The 50-year-old supermodel surprise announced on Instagram Tuesday, I hate that surprise announced, that she welcomed her first child, a baby girl. A beautiful little blessing has chosen me to be her mother. So honored to have this gentle soul in my life. There are no words to describe the lifelong bond that I now share with my angel. There is no greater love. And she captioned a photo of herself holding the newborn's feet. And a source told Page Six, Naomi has been wanting to be a mom for a long time, and it finally happened. What happened? She's the godmother to many friends and family's kids and has always looked forward to the day of starting her own family. It's unclear who the father is and whether Campbell gave birth, hired a surrogate, or adopted the little one. Well, then go find out. How could you just let this go? See, in my day, this story would never get printed. We couldn't write this story without knowing. We have to fill in a huge hole in the middle of the story, pardon the pun. But now a celebrity posts some shit on Instagram and the media just reprints it as news. And they package it as news. It's not right. It's never been easier to be a journalist. I know we all talk shit about them, especially I do, but it's true. It's very easy to be a journalist now, or to call yourself a journalist. It's terrible. About 7 or 8 years ago, a buddy of mine, who was actually a really good writer, got a raise working for the paper I used to work for, Newsday, the big Long Island newspaper. And all he was tasked with was to watch Twitter and see whatever's trending and then reverse engineer it to see where it started and just write about that. Are you fucking kidding me? He wanted to pull his hair out. But he had a mortgage and a wife and a baby on the way, and those things add up. Those things add up to not being able to tell your boss, go fuck yourself. This is a waste of my ability. And now look where we are. Newspapers just follow whatever celebrities post or tweet. That is not journalism, guys. But Naomi Campbell is a trip. For years, I was nervous to cross her path. She was known to give anybody shit who wrote anything negative about her. Early in Mike, and I knew a lot of bad shit about her. I mean, I knew she had an abortion with Mike Tyson when they were dating because she was way too busy with modeling and making millions of money to stop and have a child. But her and Mike were fucking, and I didn't want to touch that story with a 10-foot pole. Not with her and Mike mad at me. Could you imagine that fucking duo mad at you? You don't survive that. But I remember, like, when they started meeting at restaurants, the first time they met, the first night they met, I believe it was dinner at Indochine, if I'm not mistaken. They ended up fucking in the bathroom. First night. Before dinner was like halfway done. Oh, yeah. Naomi was a lot of fun. My buddy nailed her. My buddy met her at a party, and she thought he was nice. A tall, good-looking buddy of mine, producer I know from 30 years. But a real straight guy, kind of a square guy, like a good guy. Although he has a freaky side, but traditionally a good guy. And he's at some party, and she's there. And they start talking. And he's a white guy, like a white guy. And before the fucking night's over, she invites him to stay with her in Mexico. She has a photo shoot. And he goes. He's like, fuck this, I'm going, I'm single. He goes, and he's banging Naomi Campbell. And then on the second night, she goes, I got to go to this dinner. I'll be right back. Well, I'll be back in about an hour. I just got to make an appearance. He goes, okay. She goes, you stay in bed, honey, and I'll come back and we'll have some fun. So he's in bed. She comes back around 11:30, 12. And she runs to the safe, and he sees her taking stuff out of her pocket. These, like, rocks, and she puts them in the safe. And he goes, what is that? She goes, oh, they're diamonds. And he goes, diamonds? They weren't shiny. She goes, no, they're blood diamonds, silly. Somebody gave her blood diamond. I think it was that guy J-Lo, not J-Lo, J-Lao or Jalo, that fucking fat Korean guy that ended up getting in trouble for extorting $1 billion out of a company and being friends with DiCaprio and all these supermodels and giving people gifts and buying Oscars and handing it to just a crazy rich guy that was extorting money from some big fund out in the some Asian world, Korean or Japanese guy. Not J-Lo, but very close to that name. Anyhow, then he was on the lam on like a 400-foot boat. They couldn't find him. He was like traveling the world. They finally got his ass, though. But Naomi got a very bad rap back in the day because she knew what she wanted. She knew her worth. This was before women were being told, the way they're being talked to now, to step up for what you believe in. Me too. Time's up. Don't take any shit. Naomi was doing this a long time ago. And she spoke her mind whenever she felt like it. And yeah, she would sometimes give younger black models some shit on photo shoots because that's what some women do, especially those in the beauty business. They can get a little bit catty. Some women, even Naomi, as beautiful as she was and is, could feel insecure at times at the sight of a younger model like Veronica Webb or Beverly Peel or even my ex, Cara Young. Or Tyra, for sure. Tyra came on the scene as a 19 or 18-year-old, and they had problems. But I also knew she would do things for models on some shoots that no other model was doing. See, Naomi was very aware that even though 4 girls, let's say, or 3 girls were hired to do a campaign on some beautiful remote island in the Caribbean, she knew that they were not getting the same money. She knew that their rates were different. So one day she took Stephanie Seymour and my ex aside and asked them what they were being paid. Now, a lot of models don't want to, they tell you don't tell anybody your rate just for situations like this, but girls talk. So Naomi hears what they're getting paid. Naomi was getting 10 grand for the day. Stephanie was getting, I think, 7, and Cara was getting 5. This is like 28 years ago. Now, Naomi didn't do this to make the girls comfortable or to show off what she was earning. She did it to fix what she felt was an injustice. So she told the girls, stay in this room and do not go out. I don't give a fuck who knocks on the door or what they say. You're not leaving. Then let me handle it. They were like nervous. They wanted to work. But, you know, they're like, all right, let's see what this bitch wants to do. And when the people like the photographer and people came to the door and began to worry, they knocked. And Naomi calmly told them, we're not shooting until the girls get as much as me. Don't bother knocking again until it's all corrected. And sure enough, the girls got that extra money. And then their rates stayed that way. That's just a little something a lot of people don't know about it that I thought would be interesting. But there are definitely some scary sides to her for sure. And I'm sure motherhood is going to mellow her out a little bit. That'd be nice. I also remember a story that killed me back in the day. I remember when Naomi was dating Robert De Niro, and I eventually found out what their favorite restaurant was, a little place called Rosolio down in the Village. And I used to take my friend Kim, and we'd go there like 3 times a week trying to find them. This is when you're young. You get off work, you got good money in your pocket, you're in your early 30s, the city is yours, you got a nice apartment that overlooks the fucking Twin Towers. I mean, you're balling. Sure, let's go out and drop a couple of $100 on dinner 3 times a week. Nope, I got an expense account. Who gives a fuck? And you run into Naomi and De Niro. And De Niro got to the point where he nodded me. That killed me, especially since back in 1980. After seeing Raging Bull, I was so obsessed with him. I was obsessed with him as a kid from fucking Mean Streets. But after Raging Bull, watching them, knowing the city, knowing they shot some scenes at the Carmine Street pool, which was near where I lived when I got older, I had to run into him. So one night I remember I slept. I had a 280Z. I drove to the city, found his apartment, and slept in my car. Why did I do this? Because I hoped to see him either coming or going from his apartment. How insane is this? I know. Anyhow, De Niro was obsessed with Naomi, as I was with him. And there came a time when they weren't doing so good in their relationship, and Naomi jets off to Paris to go see U2 play. And she was there, and she begins this affair, or a quick one-night stand, she thought, with the bassist, Adam Clayton. Of course, it went on, but she didn't know. When De Niro caught wind of this, he was warned. Somebody in Paris said, hey, your girl's with Adam Clayton. He gets on a jet, goes to Paris, finds out where she's staying, knocks on the door, only to have Adam Clayton open the door completely nude, cock out, the whole thing. Naomi knew he was coming, and she made sure Clayton would be there at the perfect time. That's rough, but that's pure Naomi. Anyhow, why would somebody as gorgeous as Naomi Campbell, who knew she was always too busy to step aside and have a baby, how could she not freeze her eggs at some point? That puzzles me. How could Kim Kardashian and Khloe be smarter than she? I don't get that. And by the way, I know it's been a few days, but I haven't rang in on the shit Prince Harry said on the Dax Shepard podcast last week. Jesus, the way he shit on his family, that was so wrong. And that was only surpassed by how lame Dax Shepard was for not really asking real questions. My throat sucks today. I apologize. Yesterday and today, I don't know what the fuck's going on. What's the point of having someone as huge as Harry on and just letting him rip on the royals when you could have really put him in a box and made him answer some hard questions or interesting questions? For instance, I would have loved to hear Dax Shepard ask him, hey, Harry, why'd you dress up as a Nazi? And do you regret it? Ask him why he keeps adding reasons why he left England. I think the list is 20 reasons long now. Why did he and his wife, me again, continuously lie throughout the Oprah interview? Why does your wife speak on black equality but only get involved with white men? Why did he wait for his grandpa to get cold in the ground before he started shit-talking his parenting skills? Those are some good questions, right? But I guess Dax just wanted to give old Harry a pass so he and Kristen can be invited to their cool house parties. And definitely the baby shower. Oh, they're going to that without a doubt. I can't take it. You know, when you got a podcast as big as Dax Shepard does, I think you should use that for good reasons. When you have a platform and a pedestal to speak from, if you will, use it. You got a big platform there, big audience. Why do you waste it just letting someone as big as Harry just bullshit his way through it? And also, he stops long enough to shit on our First Amendment when he really has no idea how that works here in America. What could be so bad about having the right to the freedom of religion, freedom of speech, freedom of the press, the right to assemble? What the fuck is wrong with him? And the right to petition the government. That's coming pretty handy lately, don't you think? It's like, God bless Joe Rogan. He does the show he wants to do. He doesn't pull punches. He has mainly people he finds fascinating on, but he asks them pointed questions. And when they say something that doesn't sound right, he says, why? Why do you feel that way? I disagree. You've got to do that. And what's happening with Rogan lately makes me laugh. It's really comical. Every time he says something about, 21-year-olds shouldn't get vaccinated, everybody lights him up and publishes it in every newspaper. The other day, he said something else about, hey, the straight white men, it's open season on straight white men or open season on men. I've been saying that for 3 years. Of course, Joe Rogan has 11, 12 million listeners, so, it lands in a bigger area when you're writing about Joe than a big old me, a little old me. But the point is, why are we writing about what Joe Rogan says? First of all, he's a comic, and he's high about 80% of the time he's on his show. I'm not taking away from what he does. That's his thing. They smoke pot, they drink a little whiskey, and they talk the talk. That's a cool That's a cool format. I love it. It's almost like my talk show, except it was just, it was in a studio and we had an audience. But we did the same thing. Drink, get high if you want. Let's go out and have a conversation. But these people in the press who write, Joe Rogan says this, you realize he's a comic who gets high almost every show. I just want you to know, jeez, he's not a big politician. Anyhow, ever since Jennifer Lopez and Alex Rodriguez announced they were splitting up and ending their engagement, have you seen, A-Rod has walked around so fucking mopey and heartbroken. And I'm glad. I'm not a big A-Rod fan at all. I loved that he was a Yankee, but I also hated that he was a Yankee. We always felt like we were bringing on somebody that we knew was good and we probably win a championship with him, and we did. We should have won 2 or 3, but we won 1 in 2009, and he was great. But too many years of him wanting to be just like Derek Jeter and mimicking everything Jeter did to the point where he moves to Florida like Jeter, to the point where he wants to buy a professional team like Jeter did. Just enough, A-Rod. It couldn't be baseball, so now it's hockey and a female sport team. I don't know what he's doing. Or is it Minnesota Timberwolves he bought? A-Rod's a basketball guy now? The whole thing is weird to me. It's single white male, and it's between him and Derek Jeter. But he's walking around all mopey. He's tried a lot of shit to try to woo J-Lo back, but word is she wants nothing to do with him. That last attempt he had was so embarrassing. Did you see the picture he posted? Oh, my God. I almost cried. I'm sure J-Lo and Ben Affleck stopped screwing long enough to have a good laugh, then got right back into it. But he had an Instagram post where he's eating dinner with his daughters, and he's showing you the table. I don't know who took the picture, because he's in the picture with his daughters. And there's 3 empty place settings at the table. Because when A-Rod and J-Lo were together, they're blended families. They used to eat Brady Bunch style. So those 3 empty seats are for J-Lo and her kids. It didn't work. And people close to J-Lo says she's officially over him. Like she wants nothing to do with him. And he's sad, lonely, pinings for her. She doesn't want to hear it. Hey, A-Rod, if getting the late, great Luther Vandross to serenade her with a full band and a bunch of white doves on Valentine's Day didn't work for Puffy Combs, your empty chairs at the dinner table is nothing short of an epic fail. Please, guy. You see how he thinks? Like, if Puffy did the big grand gesture, the empty chairs ain't going to hit. See, he was under the impression that he and J-Lo would be friends forever, but he's acting so maudlin and needy now that she cut him off. Girls don't want to be around guys. They want you to be strong. They don't want a fucking sad puppy around them. She's thrilled. She's happy. She tried for a long time to make sure A-Rod wasn't going to cheat on her and make sure he could work. I told you about the cheating a long time ago. I told you how she installed when A-Rod moved into her house, her big mansion, there's a big TV room that has like 16 monitors so he can watch all the baseball games during the season before he works to get to know every player and everything they're doing. J-Lo had that put together in her house. One room was all A-Rod's TV, and every screen is pinned to a different baseball game. And that's where he sits and gets his information from. Well, one of the screens that is used as a computer for him is on the wall. And apparently, from what I heard from somebody who did the work in that house, J-Lo was able to see every email and text that he sent on one of these screens in the, they was saved somehow. And I think from between finding he's guilty with that and then some other things down the road, she was like, fuck this, I'm out. She didn't trust him. Didn't want to waste any more of her time. She's 50 years old. I'm happy she's with Affleck now. And I do love this latest story surrounding these two. But I can sniff out when J-Lo is having somebody in her camp to come up with these leaks, these A-Rod stories. I've been at this too long, 30 years now. First byline for gossip was 91. I know a fake leak when I read one. This story, the only way I could love this story more is if A-Rod started dating Ana de Armas, Affleck's ex. But I don't really believe this leaked story that J-Lo's doing great. I think that was all to send it right back up A-Rod's ass. Like, leave me alone. That's what I think. Oh, by the way, Chrissy Teigen continues to list and lean on her way to being chopped down and canceled. I went through this 2 shows ago on Patreon, a 20-minute screed. It's worth the $5 right there. First, it was Target who dropped her. Then it was Macy's. They did the same thing. And I'm sorry, it was Target, Macy's, and then it was Bloomingdale's the other day. They want nothing to do with her either. Guys, go to patreon.com/fameasabitch. I did 20 minutes on the destruction of Teigen. I've hated her for a long time, and I've got exclusive information on what she does in her personal life that you'd be fascinated to know. Also, a couple of ditties about John Legend's personal likes and life, if you know what I mean. Don't miss it. And don't try to read between the lines. Hear it from my mouth. As many of you know, I couldn't be more happy watching this fire bring down Teigen. I think it's good that she's being hit where it hurts. Her bank account, that makes her stop and listen and cry. Moonface has made a career out of being a social media troll. So maybe she should shut the fuck up and quit again for a few months like she keeps promising. I'm glad she's getting the karma she deserves, and John Legend needs to watch out, or next thing you know, he's going to get dropped by The Voice and other endeavors because of her big mouth. When's the last time she booked a modeling gig? I expect her own agency is going to drop her now, too. That's going to be a story coming soon. Even though she's not booking anything, they don't want to be associated with her. Right now, in this kind of business, when you are the chosen one, whether it's modeling, acting, you can't align yourself with anybody who's controversial. And right now, Chrissy Teigen is radioactive. And for Christ's sakes, what did I miss about her getting a cooking line? Can somebody tell me? I saw her do a cooking segment on, I think, Dr. Oz, making fucking tacos or some shit. Was she a short-order cook when she was a teenager? Did her parents own a restaurant? How do people like her get cooking lines? Does she own a restaurant? I know she likes lines, but cooking, I'm not so sure about. And by the way, she had a personal chef. I happen to know that personal chef quit not too long ago because he got bored of being home with her and having to see her walk around all day like half a zombie. Use your imagination why she's zombied out. A nanny and a personal chef. That's why she had the time to sit her ass on Twitter and write mean shit. But John has the right idea. He stays a lot of times, a lot of nights at his condo in the beautiful Sierra Towers on Sunset Boulevard whenever he can. Why he likes to be alone? Again, use your imagination. Just up the road from Boys Town, down on Santa Monica Boulevard. Very convenient spot. You know, location. Yeah, so Bloomingdale's was hours away from signing a contract with Teigen where she was going to host some promotional event for the store, but they pulled the plug on Monday because of the toxic press swirling around shrunken apple face. She must be a mess at home, and it's only going to get worse. Can you imagine what a hell she would make John Legend's life if he tried to divorce her? Which is going to happen, I think, by the end of summer. If I were him, I'd start cutting the check now and running, because he's got to be miserable watching this. And speaking of gay men, I can't believe New York City's Gay Pride Parade, the organizers there have banned cops. They've banned groups of cops from marching or participating in the celebration, which cops have been marching in for 40 years in the Gay Pride Parade. Fucked up. So the coordinators of the world's largest gay pride celebration, which used to end on my street in the Village, and then the after party would take place on the roof of my building. Try going to sleep when fucking Thelma Houston singing 2 floors above your head. Forget about it. Don't lead me this way. You can't sleep. It's pretty fun, though. The fucking building was filled with insane people. Oh, my God. How many hand jobs are given in my hallway that night? So they're not allowing cops to march. They don't want them. They don't want them in the next 5 years because they want to create safer spaces for marginalized groups. Safer spaces for marginalized groups. Okay, fellas, really? Who do you think these people in marginalized groups call when they need fucking help? Who? Should they be a victim of a hate crime and have a knife sticking out of their belly, which happens from time to time in New York City? Who do they call to feel safe? The parade organizers? What a bunch of horse shit. If I were a cop, I would 5 mile an hour it over to their neighborhood whenever someone in Greenwich Village or Chelsea was in trouble and called 911. Oh, what's that? Is a gun to your head? Yeah, we're coming. Okay, goodbye. Fucking grab a couple of donuts, a cup of coffee, circle the block once or twice. Maybe pull a video off the video. What am I, back in the Blockbuster days? Forget it. You know what I'm saying, though? Don't show up so quickly. But isn't this interesting? Isn't this, I guess all this talk about inclusion and acceptance and everybody having dialogue, I guess that only matters when it affects gays. Wouldn't it be so nice if they only practiced what they preached? But the NYPD should have known this was coming ever since the Village people decided to kick out the cop from their act last year. And they want to tell people it's because he was the only straight one in the group, but don't fall for that shit for 1 second. It was because cops are no good anymore, and gay people need to call sociologists and therapists and social workers to stop a violent act from occurring in their home or street. Get the fuck out of here. Refund the police. Defund fucking parades. Parades should end when you're 12. Grow up. I'm AJ Benz. Oh, let me thank my tippy top, my cream of the crop. It's been a while, and these goddamn good people deserve it. Donald Kwasnicki, Lily Amini, Jennifer McKinney, Michael Sinatra, Francesca Gocknauer, Leslie Mansfield, Michael Liptak, Gail Edwards, Sarah Walker, Scott Dillon, Marcello Martinez, Annette Mahoney Cross, Ali Chichi, Trayan, Deb Thompson, Joe Leone, Kerry McDermott, Stephanie Villarreal, Wendy McAsee, Dr. George Canas, Heather Grindle, Jackie Robbins, Angelique Heller, Jennifer Lewis, Debbie Anderson, Chris Elise, Eric Farkay, the great Catherine Stewart, Debbie Mulcahy, Kelly Moriello, Dana Parks and Betty, Angela Domino, the great Captain Speed, Audra Fortune, rounding it out. 34 of you good people making sure that AJ Benza is taken care of and tucked in at night and feeling well. I really appreciate it. The rest of you, join up. All right, I love you. I'll talk to you Friday. Talk to you Friday. Bye.
Thank you for listening. Fame is a Bitch is an AJ Benza Workhouse Connect production featuring the endless wisdom, insightful commentary, and sometimes fucked up perspective of AJ Benza. Executive producer, Mike Agavino. Technical producer, Brian Vasquez.